Hi, I'm Nishad and welcome to this new video tutorial of Akeneo. In today's video tutorial, we'll be checking out Akeneo UI reference entity module. Now this particular module provides the functionality wherein you'll be able to make use of the user interface to create entity and manage the entity values using the interface itself. Now kindly note that using this particular module, you'll be able to create two different types of attributes there. One is the reference data single select and reference data multi-select as well. So in today's video tutorial, what we'll be doing is we'll be initially creating the UI reference entity using the user interface there. Then we'll be adding fields to it, and then we'll be adding the field values to it. Apart from that, we'll also be creating attributes or two different types of attributes. One for the reference data single select and the other for the reference data multi-select. Then what we'll be doing is we'll be assigning these attributes to a particular family, and then we'll be creating a particular product using the respective family within which we have assigned these two attributes to. But before I proceed further with this particular video tutorial today, please do subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to receive the latest updates from our end. And if you find this particular video helpful, then do kindly give it a thumbs up. So let's hop onto the Akeneo backend panel and let's check the workflow of this particular plugin. That's the Akeneo UI reference entity plugin itself. So right now you can see that I'm in the Akeneo backend panel. So what I'll be doing is I'll be logging into the Akeneo backend panel by entering the username, password and tapping on the login button thereafter. Now after we have successfully logged into the admin backend panel of Akeneo, on the left hand side panel we'll find one option with the name reference entity. So here you can see that we have the reference entity. Now this particular option comes after you have successfully installed the Akeneo UI reference entity module in the first place. Now the very first thing that I want to show you is how we can create the entity in the first place, then add the fields and the field values to it. So to create the entity, we'll go to the reference entity section and we'll tap on that. That would bring up the Akeneo UI reference entity section where we have the entity mapping tab. So we'll go to the entity mapping tab. So if you already created an entity, you'll be able to see that particular entity being created here, and you can edit or delete that entity as well. Now to create a new entity, what you need to do is you need to tap here on the create entity button on the top right hand corner here. So let me tap here on the create entity, and then we have to give the name of the entity there. So let's set it as application. For the time being, for this particular demonstration, let's set the entity name as application and let's tap here on the save button. After we have saved the particular entity, you can see that now we'll be able to add the field name, choose the field type as text, date, number, JSON, boolean, image, multi-select, simple select, or as per our own requirement there. We can set up the field length as well. We can enable the field required and field used in label as well. And to add that particular field name, we have to tap here on the add field button that you can see here on under the actions column. So let's set the field name here as test application. Let me set the field type as text. Let me set the field length as let's set it to 30. Let's set it as field used in label, and let's tap here on the add field button. Now you can see that the test application field name has been created with the field type as text, the field length as 30, the field used in label has been enabled. Now let's tap here on the save button on the top right hand corner. Let me tap here on the save button. Now this would save the particular entity there. Then coming to the reference entity field value, and now we can create the field values for the reference entity there. So we'll come down to the reference entity field value section, and here we'll be tapping on the add field values. So the field that we had created, we can add the field values for that. To do so, you have to tap here on the add field values, and here you can see that the test application is already visible. The field that we had created. Now we are creating the entity field value here. So let me set it as test1. Sort order has to be set up, and let's set the value here, value for the test application, and let's tap here on the save button thereafter. So the field value have been created, as you can see, test1, and the test application value for the test application has been created. Now if I go to the product in reference entity, here I'll be able to see the product within the within which we have added this reference entity. So right now it's not available in any of the products there. So this was how we can create, let me go back, this was how we can create the entity there. So here you can see that the entity application has been created. If you want, you can edit it up as well. And here's the test application field name that we have created of the text type, text field type. And for the entity field value, we have created the field value as well. And right now the particular reference entity, it is not available in any of the products that we have created. So here you can see that in reference entity, it is showing as no for the all products there. Now what we'll be doing is we'll be going ahead and we'll be creating two different types of attributes with the reference data single select and reference data multi-select values there. So what I'll do is I'll go to settings, attributes, and here what I'll be doing is I'll be creating an attribute. To create an attribute, I'll tap here on the create attribute button, and then here on the choose the attribute type, I'll go to the reference data multi-select, and here we have the reference data simple select. So first let's create it for the simple select. So I'll select it up. Let me, for this demonstration, let me set the label name as ASD, and let me confirm it up. So the ASD attribute has been created. The type can be seen as reference data simple select. Then we'll choose the attribute group. Let me assign it to the e-commerce attribute group there. And let me scroll down, and here we have the reference data type. So here I'll tap, and here's the applications. We had created the application entity there. So here we have the application simple, the entity name was application there. So I'll select this application simple, and I'll tap here on the save button thereafter. Now this was how we can create the reference data simple select, and after I have created this one up, I'll go to the families, and I'll go to the accessory family for this particular demonstration, and I'll go to the attributes, and here if you see, we have marketing, we have ERP, technical, product, and e-commerce as well. So what I'll do is I'll go with the add attribute, and I'll search for the attribute ASD that we have just created, and I'll add it up. If I scroll down now to the ERP or the e-commerce section here, you can find we have the ASD as well. Now let's save it up. Now again, I'll go to the attributes, and I'll tap here on the create attribute, and this time I'll be selecting reference data multi-select, and I'll set the label as DSA for the time being, and I'll confirm it up. And then here you can see that the type of this attribute is reference data multi-select. I'll choose the attribute group for this attribute. Let's go with the e-commerce there, and then I'll scroll down to the reference data type, and here I'll choose application, that entity name underscore multiple, and I'll save this particular attribute there. After saving the attribute, I'll go to the family, and I'll go again to the accessories family, and I'll go to the attributes tab, and here I'll tap on the attribute. I'll select, or I'll search for the DSA attribute that we have just created, and I'll add it to the particular section, that's the e-commerce section. So here we are having the ASD and the DSA. ASD is the single select, and the DSA is the multi-select there, and let's save it up. Now if I go to the product section, and under the product section, if I go with the braided hat for example, and I go to the attribute group section that says e-commerce, here we can see we have both the attributes ASD and the DSA. Now you can see that the ASD is a single select, and it has a drop down option here, and if I select that up, you can see the value that we had added for the particular entity field value, that value is visible here. So we can select the value for the test application, and the DSA is the multi-select one, reference data multi-select, and here you can see that we can select that particular value here. So multiple values can be selected for the same. and then let's tap here on the save button. So for the demonstration purposes, I just created the AST and the DSA attributes there, and we had created the entity type as application, and we had the field value as the application test, having the field value as value for the test application there. So this was a single select, this was a multi-select. As you can see here, we can select multiple ones if we have multiple values there, and then we can tap here on the save button. Now if I come back to the reference entity here and I go to the entity mapping and I go to the application entity that I had created and I edit it up, you can see that we have the field name as test application, and if I go to the reference entity field value, here's the test one for the code of the field value, and here's the field value, that's the for the test application, that's the value for the test application. The same was selected there for the AST and the DSA attributes that we had created. And now if I go to the product in reference entity, and if I scroll down, now you can see that the braided hat is having the in reference entity. So this reference entity is available in the braided hat there. So yes, that was much about the Akeneo UI reference entity module, and I hope that this particular video helped you out in understanding how we can make use of the user interface to create the entity in the first place, and how we can add the entity values as well. Apart from that, how we can create two different types of attributes there with the reference data single select and reference data multi-select there, how we can assign those to the families, and then how we can create a product with that particular family and under the particular what we say as the attribute group, how we can find those attributes and how we can select the reference data single select and reference data multi-select values for the entity value that we had created in the first place there. So if you find this particular video helpful, then do kindly give it a thumbs up, and if you still have any questions, queries, suggestions or requirements regarding the same, then you can anytime get back to us at support@webcool.com, or you can raise a ticket at webcool.uvdesk.com as well. And lastly, thanks for watching this particular video and have a great day ahead.